just repeat that. So when you're finding the domain, you're looking for the x values and you're scanning the graph from the left to the right. The range is the y values. You are scanning the graph from the bottom to the top. When you just have a set of points, you are going to be listing the points in set notation. I'm going to write set notation below so that we remember that's what we used. And set notation is when you list them all. And you use fancy brackets, like that. Can you guys see, or do you want me to zoom in more? It's okay? Zoom? I'm not hearing anything. I'll zoom a little bit. Okay, so let's list the x values from the left to the right. I've got some of them. I've got -2, -1, 0. 1 and 2, thank you. Okay, so if I look, I'm scanning them from the left to the right, and I can see their x values when I scan them that way. All right, if you think you have an idea of what the y values are, go ahead and write them. Don't say them out loud. Let's give everybody a chance to think about what the y values are. What happens if a y value shows up more than once? Do you write it 2 times or just once? Just 1 time, good. Okay. So I'm gonna just come around real quick, make sure everybody got the domain, and if you think you have the range, write that on your paper. All right, I see some of you have it, some of you are thinking on it, which is great. Let's look at those y values. Write the smallest one first. What's the smallest y value? I can see it's right here, right? -3. Okay, and I'm going to continue scanning. The next y value is? What number? It is -2. And it's okay that there are 2 points with the same y value. The question is, like, what numbers are y values? And -2 is a y value. It's fine that it's a y value for 2 different points. And there's one more. What's the last one?
1.
Yeah, thank you. All right. For problem number 2, it is impossible to list all of the points. Can anybody raise their hand to tell us why it's impossible to list all the points? For number 2. So I can see that there's an x value at -2. And I can see that there's an x value at -1. It's right here. Are there any x values between -2 and -1? There are. Look, all of these x values in between are also points. I can't list all of those points because between -2 and -1 there are an infinite number of points, which is really a very interesting idea. So I can't list all of those numbers, like -1.9, -1.99, -1.9999. I can't list them all. So in that case, we have to use interval notation. And that's going to be from the smallest to the largest. Did you guys notice that there's a word bank at the bottom? Does that help you? There's an answer bank down here. So at the bottom, we've already used this one. And we use this one. Good morning. Put that right there. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So let's look at the domain. Remember, we're scanning it from the left to the right. What is the smallest x value as we start scanning it? What's the first one?
-2.
Yep. So my domain goes from -2. And then we keep going until we hit the largest y value, which is which number?
2.
+2. Good. All right. Now I'm going to ask you to take a minute and try to do the range on your own. Remember that there is an answer bank at the bottom. We just used this one up. So we're looking for the range from the smallest to the largest. Okay, take a minute, write that on your paper if you think you know what it is. This is set notation, so that one is right. Remember, your answer choice should be on the paper in the word game. All right, I saw a lot of good work out there. All right, Joseph, can you tell us where does our range start? What's our bottom number? Good. Starts down here at the bottom at -3. And Kenny, what's our largest number? It goes up to what number? Very good. All right, and we just used -3, so you can cross that off your word bank. All right, we're going to do one more together, and then I'm going to give you some time to think about the next ones. All right, this one right here, our domain is from the left side to the right side, but these arrows mean that it's going to just keep going. So what number is all the way on the left over here? Yeah, what kind of infinity? Yeah, on the left side we have -infinity, and on the right side we have positive infinity, right? Now, if you look at the answer choices, when it has -infinity and positive infinity, it has parentheses, and the parentheses mean that you cannot get to that number. And that's the truth about infinity. Like, you can start heading towards infinity, but you're never going to get there. So the parentheses indicate it's still interval notation, but you can't actually get to these numbers. So that's our domain. Now our range is going to have an infinity in it also, but it's not infinity on both ends. So let's start at the bottom. What is the smallest number for our y's? Yes, the smallest number is still -3. But now the arrows keep going up to what number? What number's up here? 3 is here, and then it goes 4 and 5 and 6, and it keeps going all the way up until what? Yeah. So it's going up to infinity. What questions do you guys have about that one? It's different from the others. Okay. I am going to pause for a minute and see how much you can get done on the bottom. I want you to talk to people around you and see if you can compare answers. So for number 4, the domain should look like the domain from this one because it also has arrows going to the left and arrows going to the right. All right. Anybody want to give us the domain for this one, number 4? Number 4. Did you get domain for that one yet? Uh-huh. Very good. Anybody else get negative infinity, comma infinity? Excellent. Okay. For the range, it's going to start at the bottom, and these arrows just keep going down. So what would our range be? Go ahead, Amber. It's frozen. Oh, thanks. Does not want to unfreeze either. All right. Sorry, does somebody want to share that answer with us? Amber, what you get? Excellent. All right, so guys, we've been using the square brackets to show that we're including those numbers. Okay, this one though, we're going to use a square bracket on the left side, but not on the right side, because the right side, the circle means not including this number. So we're going to get to like 1.999999999, but we never get to 2. Okay. All right. So domain starts on the left side at what number? -2, and it gets really, really close to what number over here? 2. So let's see how this looks. We've got -2. We're going to include it because it's colored in. And then for the 2, we're going to put a parentheses to show it doesn't actually get to 2. It gets really close to 2. Now, for the range, look at this. It's kind of tricky because I start down here at -1. And -1 is colored in over here, and it's not colored in over here. So if I say -1, you are included on this side, but you're not included on that side. Is -1 one of my y values? Yes or no? Yeah. It is, yeah. So -1 is my y values, even though it's not included on both sides. So I'm going to start my range at -1, and it goes up to what number? 3. Yep, I agree with 3. All right, so I've been doing these without crossing off. Okay. All right, so for this one, for the domain, you should have been looking at the x numbers, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, which is right here. And notice that we're using set notation again because it's just points. Good morning. Thank you. And then for the range, we're looking at the y values. What's the first y value? Uh-huh. And then? 2. And? 3. Good. Okay. So once you finish that, I want you to take your little paper, and we're going to do your halfway through class progress on your goal. Okay? So I'm going to think about this. Halfway through class, be on time. Halfway through class, I was on time. If you weren't on time, but you had improved your time, you could say, I was earlier than last class. If you didn't progress on that goal yet, that's okay. That's something that you're going to work on next time. And then my second goal was paying attention and putting down my phone. So I had my phone out 1 time. Okay, so in that little box, you're writing how much progress did you make on your 2 goals that are on this paper. All right, and then we're going to turn the page to the back. So when you're done with that, we're going to turn to the back. I think we're going to need Desmos eventually on the back. been cooperating with your classmates? Have you been spending less time on your phone? Excellent, so write that. I've been cooperating and I didn't touch my phone. -1 is the start, but it doesn't go to infinity because it stops right here at 3. But see, when you're looking at it, you're trying to look at the y values for the range. So the range starts here and it goes up to here. It doesn't go there. So it starts here and goes here. This should be -2. 2. See how we have that? So we have negative, this was -2 with the square bracket, and this is -2 with the parentheses. All right, let me see if you guys have had a chance to write on your little paper yet. All right, you're doing okay? All right, good job, you're working on that one. Okay, so you haven't done that one yet, that's okay, do this one first. Then you have a break, okay?
What do you get a 5
I would like to see maybe all the way. Yes. Once you get back, okay? All right, let's turn the page. All right, solve the equations by finding x-intercepts. These terms are the same as x-intercepts. Anybody remember from our vocabulary, what was a word that was the same as x-intercepts? Yeah, on the x-axis. Remember we had all those names for those points? What were they? Raise your hand if you remember one of them. Okay, if you have your slides open, they're on there. Let's look at the slides real quick. Right here. Here they are, x-intercepts, zeros, and roots. Okay, so these terms are the same. X-intercepts, zeros, and roots. So thinking ahead for a minute at the bottom of the page, see where I ask you for x-intercepts, zeros, and roots? These are all the same. See, I'm asking you for the same thing down here, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're here. The question is to find the zeros, and that's easy. I want you to notice that it's also telling you that this is written in vertex form, right here. This is called vertex form. The reason it's called vertex form is because the vertex is the opposite of this number, comma this number. This one is telling you that the equation is written in standard form. This is standard form. And this is written in intercept form, and it's called intercept form because the x-intercepts are the opposites of these numbers. You'll see when we get there. Okay, so these are 3 common ways to write the equations of a quadratic equation. Notice that they all have a squared. See, squared, squared. This one, the squared, is because when you multiply x times x, you get x squared. All right, so it says circle the points on the parabola where y equals 0. So y equals 0 all along the x-axis. All along here. Okay, so circle the points where y equals 0 on all 3. Okay, you can do it on all 3. I'll come around and see if you got it. Are you going to the close one?
Yeah.
Right. Great. And we can be circling the y, or the x intercept, the zeros. So I'm circling the zeros, which is where the parabola crosses the x-axis. Yeah, did you get them? On all three graphs? Yes. So see how we're circling where the parabola crosses the x-axis. You got it? Yeah, you got it? Did you get all three, Kai? Do all three, okay? Did you circle the zeros? You want to circle where your parabola crosses the x-axis? And you want to circle just the particular points. This one and this one, okay?
My sister said, little girls like parallels.
Yeah, you want to circle, you gotta do it across here. And here. All right, so I highlighted the whole x-axis to help you notice the x-axis. But what you want to circle is the points where they cross. Okay, so I'm circling these points. These are also known as the zeros. Okay, so if I ask you to find the zeros are, in this case, -1 and 5. And in this case, 2 and 4. And in this case, -4 and 2. These are all the zeros. Down here, there are two different things I'm asking you for. I'm asking you to tell me what form is this equation written in. Is it vertex form, standard form, or intercept form? And what are the zeros, the roots, the x-intercepts? They can also be called solutions if it's set equal to 0. So two different things. What is the form? And then what are the zeros? Okay, so go ahead and you're going to need to graph those in Desmos. Go over these. Let's see how you did. First one, this is our equation. It's in red. All right, one of the answers was over here, -1.5. And Kai, what was the other one for the first one? Kai, besides -1.5, what was the other answer for the first one? -1, good. All right, so we're looking to see where the x-intercepts are. The x-intercepts are also the zeros and the roots. So we've got, I'm going to do these first, and then we'll do the forms, okay? All right, the next one is in blue. So in blue, you can see we've got -3 and we've got 1. All right, the next one's in green. Okay, in the green, you can see that these decimals are a little bit messy. Notice I didn't put 0 equals on it because what I'm doing is I am finding the zeros. So these are my solutions. My solutions are 0.764 and 5.236. And sometimes quadratic equations have messy answers. Those are actually rounded answers. They are not exact answers. But they're the best we got for now. Okay, and then how about the last one? X-intercepts. What did you notice about the last quadratic equation? Did it have x-intercepts? I heard a no. Let's take a look. Okay, the last one is purple. Let me turn all these others off. Does it have x-intercepts? No, it doesn't cross the x-axis. So it doesn't have x-intercepts, it doesn't have solutions, zeros, roots, it has none of those things. So we're just going to write no x-intercepts. Okay. And now we're going to do the forms. So looking at the forms, do you notice the vertex form? It has a binomial squared. The standard form has no parentheses, and it does have the first term squared. And the intercept form does not have a squared on it, even though you would get a squared by multiplying these two binomials together. So the first one is this one, vertex, standard, or intercept? This one. What do you think? Is it vertex, standard, or intercept? Take a guess. Okay, let's take a look at standard. So standard has no parentheses. Does that match this one? But which one is standard, guys? 4, 5, 6, or 7? Which one's standard?
7.
7 is standard. Good. So this one is standard form. Okay. Yeah, let's do it that way. All right. Which one is vertex form? It has one set of parentheses that is squared. Which one?
6 and 5.
I agree. 6 and 5 are both vertex form. And that means number 4 is what form? Intercept form. Okay, check your paper. Make sure you've got all of this, because remember, you're going to get to use this when we do our next check-in. And you're going to get to use this on our Kahoot. Although our Kahoot is going to be about domain and range, so it's the first side you're going to want for the Kahoot.